Hi guys, in this video we are going to start with second part of the chapter, that is plant kingdom, and in this video we'll be discussing about the bryophyta. In the first video we discussed about the algal members, that is green algae, brown algae, red algae, and different examples of those algae. I gave you some important points which are asked in the exams usually, and now today we'll be focusing on these bryophyta. So now, these bryophyta, can you imagine that you usually come across these bryophyte members? If you are walking and if you see some rock structures which are having the green mats present on them, or a layer of green structures, green plants, very small in size. What are they? These are the bryophytes. They are the bryophyte members, that is mosses, very commonly seen. They are the pioneers to come on the rock. So are all the mosses included in the bryophyta? This is forming one of the important question asked in the exams. And second point, are all bryophytes small? If you talk about the angiosperms, the higher plants, they can be small or tall, but are bryophytes tall also? They can grow tall just like the other trees, or they are just small herb-like structures or very small in size. So in this video, we'll be getting the answers for such questions also, along with the reasons why bryophytes are tall or why bryophytes are not tall. Because I'm forming both the questions because I don't want to give the answers right here itself. So let's begin with this topic, bryophyta. And the term bryophyta was given by a scientist whose name was, what was the name? Robert Brown. So we need to keep the names also in our mind, as I always tell you to keep the names in your mind. Term by Robert Brown. Second thing, we have the second term here, that is bryology. Bryology. Now, in the first part, if you remember, we saw a term that is phycology, and we saw one more term that is phytology. What does that mean? Phycology means study of algae and phytology means study of plants. So similarly here, this term bryology means what? Bryology means study of bryophyta. Study of bryophytes. Means all the members which are included in the bryophytes. Now, next point, who is the father of bryology? So, father of bryology, we have two names here. First is Hedwig and another one is Cavers. You will get one of these two names in your exam in the options. And Indian father is Professor Shivram Kashyap. Indian father is Professor Shivram Kashyap. Right guys? So these are few names which you need to remember. And now we'll be coming to the most important part, that is the general features of this bryophyta. And once you are clear with these general features, you can easily tell anyone with the help of these features that how the bryophytes must look like, what their structure will be. And even in the exams also, it will be very easy for you to find the answers. So let's put the heading general characters. General characters. We'll go with the reasoning also, and the questions I put in the beginning, you will be getting the answers for those questions very soon. So get ready for the answers of those questions. And now the first point is that the bryophytes are the first land plants. First, let's write the point, then see why they are known as first land plants. First land plants, because these bryophytes were the first to come on land. The ancestors of bryophytes were the aquatic plants. These bryophytes got evolved from them and came on the land. Hence, these bryophytes are known as first land plants, also called as the simplest and primitive land plants. Remember, these are the simplest and primitive land plants. Now, if they got evolved from the aquatic plants, they must have some characters which are similar to the aquatic plants, right? To show their ancestors, to represent their ancestors, they must have some characters. And we have one point which shows that they come from the aquatic ancestors, and that is presence of air canals. Presence of air canals shows their resemblance with the aquatic plants because it is a characteristic which is similar to the aquatic plants. Next point about the bryophytes, one of the important point, and you know that if a point is important, I put star mark over it. So this bryophytes are actually known as amphibians of plant kingdom. Amphibians of plant kingdom. Now, why they are known as amphibians of plant kingdom? Can you tell? The reason is hidden under this word amphibians itself. If you think about amphibians, the most common example you have, that is frog. So frogs live on land, right? But they get into water bodies for fertilization, for reproduction. They lay their eggs in the water. So just like the amphibians, these bryophytes also need water for fertilization. What is the reason? They need water for fertilization, and hence they are known as amphibians of plant kingdom. Next point, why they need water for fertilization, how the sperms will go to female reproductive structure. So don't worry here, the sperms are, or the male gametes are actually motile structures. They swim in the water, they reach to the female bryophyte bodies and hence perform the fertilization. Next is point number 4. This point number 4 is that the water conduction takes place by parenchyma. Water conduction by parenchyma means simple tissues are there. They do not have these specialized tissues for conduction of water. Hence, they are known as the unsuccessful land plants, or these are not the successful land plants, not successful. Successful land plants can't grow tall. Now you'll get the answers here itself, can't grow tall. Reason, they do not have the water conducting tissues. Water conducting tissues are absent, means the water conducting xylem and food conducting phloem are absent. So let's write the important point with a different color. Water conducting tissue, water conducting and food conducting tissue are absent. That is about which tissues we are talking over here. We are talking about the xylem and phloem, that is the vascular tissues. Vascular tissues. What are the vascular tissues? Xylem and phloem. These tissues are absent here in the case of Bryophyta, and that is why these cannot grow tall, because to grow tall, the water need to be transported from the soil or from the roots to the higher parts, and that is not possible without these vascular tissues, and hence they are not the successful land plants also. Now, next point is regarding the body of the bryophytes. So these bryophytes actually have the haploid body. Point number 6, we have haploid structures or haploid body. The body is haploid, but it is more, we can say, differentiated than algae. Haploid body, comma, more differentiated than algae. More differentiated than algae. And we'll see that the lower bryophytes have thalloid body, but the higher bryophytes have different structures. The body is differentiated into different parts. So let's write the next point, that lower bryophytes, point number 7, lower bryophytes have thalloid body, whereas the higher ones have their body branched, means branched with stem or leaf-like structures, branched with stem or leaf-like structures. These are very small structures actually, and they perform functions which are similar to the leaf and stem of higher plants. So these are stem-like or leaf-like structures. They are not actually the stem and leaf, remember, and they perform similar functions to the leaf and stem of the higher plants. Next we have is point number 8, and that is roots are absent in the case of bryophytes. Roots absent. Now, if the roots are absent, who will help them to get attached to the substratum, or we can say the soil surface, for absorption of water and mineral nutrients? So in place of roots, they have rhizoids present in them. Rhizoids present, which are similar to roots or root-like, but they are not the roots. So I'm going to star mark these points. They are stem-like or leaf-like structures, and they have rhizoids, not the roots. These rhizoids can be multicellular also or unicellular also. So I'll write here within the bracket itself, unicell means made up of single cell or multi-cell. So in different groups of the bryophyta, different types of rhizoids are there, and I'll tell you when I'll discuss those groups. Now, next point is another an important point, that these bryophytes are known as sheophytes. Sheophytes means what? Sheophytes means those plants which love to live in moist and shady places. So bryophytes love to live in moist and shady places, and hence these are given the term sheophytes. Now, if we talk about the vegetative reproduction, then vegetative reproduction takes place by fragmentation. Another method is tubers. Another method is gamete formation, which are green structures, then by buds formation, or by adventitious branches. So these are the methods of vegetative reproduction, and now I am going to tell you one of the characteristic feature of the bryophytes. That is, in case of bryophytes, they have an independent gametophyte. The bryophytes have an independent gametophyte. Means the gametophyte or the haploid body will not depend on any other organism until and unless the bryophyte is parasitic, but they have a parasitic sporophyte. It means that in case of bryophyte individuals, the sporophyte is parasitic in nature will depend on the gametophyte, whereas this gametophyte is an independent structure, does not depend on the sporophytes. So this is one important point. We can star mark it or double star it to remember this characteristic point, because in all the other members of the kingdom Plantae, you will not see this combination where the completely dependent gametophyte and a parasitic sporophyte is there. Clear? So here we are done. Next we have is habitat of the bryophytes. Means in what different places the bryophytes we can see. So habitat, different habitats are there like water. Examples we have is Rixia. Now, Rixia is the most primitive bryophyte, or the first evolving bryophytes, comes under the first evolved bryophytes. So we can say these are most primitive bryophytes, which do not have much differentiated body, or they have simple thallus. Then we have is epiphytic. First was water as habitat, then is epiphytic, means those who live on other plants. Epiphytic bryophytes, example is Dendroceros. Then we have saprophytes, which love to live on dead and decaying organic matter. So saprophytes. And it includes two examples. One is Buxbaumia. One is Buxbaumia, another one is Cryptothallus. Now, you must be thinking that in every video we are having lots of examples, how you're going to learn them. So no worries, no tensions. It's very easy to learn the examples. Learn 3 or 4 examples at once. Keep revising them, write them, and then go for the next number of examples. Don't try to learn them all together, as we are humans and have the tendency to forget the things and learn the required things very late, or very hard it is for us to learn. So learn the examples in the partitions. Okay, so let's move to the topic, and next we have is life cycle of the bryophytes. So let's put the heading life cycle. Now, certain important points are there regarding the life cycle. So let's see the important points of the life cycle before we see the actual life cycle. So this plant body, the main plant body is haploid or diploid. Just imagine first. The main plant body is haploid, known as gametophyte. So let's write the first point. Number 1, main plant body. Main plant body is gametophyte. It means we'll start the life cycle with a gametophytic body, which is haploid structure. Now, coming to the sex organs of the bryophyta. If you remember in the algae, I told that they are naked sex organs. They have naked sex organs. But here in the case of bryophyta, they have the jacketed sex organs. Means they will have the covering on the sex organs. So the next point number 2 is multicellular. These points are directly asked in the exams. No need to go under the concepts or anything. Simple, easy questions are asked. If you remember this point, you can easily mark the answer within 5 seconds without wasting time, because time management is also important for the exams. So multicellular and jacketed means covered sex organs are there, which is a character different from the algae. And these sex organs are present on gametophyte. So this is again an important point, that the sex organs are present on the gametophyte. So this is one important character. Do remember it. Now let's discuss some important points about these sex organs also. So point number 3 is these sex organs are present on the dorsal surface of the thallus or the bryophyte body. So let's write the point: sex organs on dorsal surface. Dorsal surface. Now easily I'll tell you what is dorsal surface. If a plant is placed on the lower side, like I'll show you, just a minute. Yeah. So here we have this example of bryophyta, and if you see this individual present here, this is an example of the bryophyta, that is Markensia, and this bryophyta is actually present on the substratum. This bryophyta will just have this as the dorsal surface, means which is present on the upper side, and the surface which you can see this dark green color, which is actually coming in the contact with the substratum or the soil surface. This is the ventral surface. Remember, if you put your hand down, then the dark side of our hand is the dorsal surface, and the white side, or where we have the lines, which we call as the lines of destiny, this is the ventral surface of our hand. So this is how these bryophytes are placed. This is the dorsal one, as I told you, this is dorsal, and this is the ventral, which is present in contact with the soil surface. So from now, I hope it will be easier for you to remember which one is the dorsal and which one is the ventral surface. Let's come back to our previous slide and talk about and discuss about the further points on these bryophytes' life cycle. They have sex organs on the dorsal surface, and the sex organs are given the names, that is antheridium, and archegonium. Clear? Antheridium means male sex organ and archegonium is female sex organ. This archegonium is a flask-shaped structure. Flask-shaped. Clear? Now, next point, if we talk about these bryophytes, then they are to first have the archegonia present in them. So point number 4, first archegoniate plants. First archegoniate plants. Reason they are first to have archegonium form of the female reproductive structure. So this is another important point, and we are going to star mark this point, that these are the first archegoniate plants. Now let's see some more characters of the life cycle. Here the male gametes are known as enterozoites. Male gametes are known as enterozoites, and specific characters of these enterozoites are there, which you need to remember. These enterozoites are comma-shaped, biflagellated motile gametes. Biflagellated means two flagella will be there. So they are biflagellated. And flagella is there, it means they are what? They are motile structures which will swim in the water and will reach to the female gametes to fertilize it. Such type of fertilization, where male gamete swims itself and reaches to the female gamete, such kind of fertilization is given a word, that is zooidogamy. Zooidogamy, where the male gamete swims and it reaches to the female gamete for fertilization. So zooidogamy is a type of fertilization. Important term it is, remember. What does it mean? Now, next is the embryo form. Remember, in the last video, I told you that if we, at the start of the bryophyta, we'll see the formation of embryo. First time embryo form. First time embryo formed in the life cycle during the evolution of plants, and this embryo is parasitic on gametophyte. Embryo parasitic on gametophyte means what? It will take its nutrition, habitat, everything from the gametophyte. Next is the sporophyte. So sporophyte is known as sporogonium, which has capsule, seta and foot. So next point is sporophyte. And we know that the sporophyte is a diploid structure, 2N structure, and this sporophyte is also known as sporogonium. The body of the sporophyte is divided into 3 parts, that is capsule, seta and foot. Okay, so these are the 3 parts into which the sporophyte body is divided, and this, if you see the structure of a sporophyte, then this foot is the part which will help in the attachment to the substratum. Seta is a filamentous structure and capsule is the main body which performs the photosynthesis. Now, in the lower bryophytes, these 3 parts are not present together in the sporophyte. Their sporophyte is quite simplified. For example, in Rixia, they do not have their body divided into capsule, seta and foot. Next point is the term neospores. What are neospores? Meiospores are the haploid spores, and these haploid spores are actually produced inside the capsule of the sporophyte. So the sporophyte will produce spores, gametophyte will produce gametes. So let's write this point in from it with a different color to remember this point. Gametophyte, what it is going to produce? Gametophyte is going to produce gametes, both male and female gametes. Sporophyte is going to produce the spores. And with this concept itself, we'll write the complete life cycle of the bryophyta very easily, simply. Now, one more point is there, the last point before we start the life cycle, that these are homosporous, that these spores are same, or hence they are known as homosporous. If we'll see the pteridophyta, we'll see that they are heterosporous and homosporous, means different types of spores are formed. But in case of bryophyta, the spores are same. No differentiation in the spores is there. Let's see the life cycle now. And to start, as I told you, we'll start with the main plant body, that is gametophyte. Gametophyte, that consisting the main plant body. This gametophyte is haploid structure, and from this gametophyte we get the 2 structures formed, that is female gamete and male gametes formed inside the female and male reproductive structures. So Antheridia and Archegonia, we have Antheridia, male reproductive structure, and we have Archegonia, that is female reproductive structure. Antheridia will form the male gametes, that is antherozoids, whereas the Archegonia will form the female gametes, that is egg. Now, we know that these gametes are always haploid. In my previous video, I told about this point, that gametes are always haploid and the zygotes are always diploid. Now what happens? Now occurs the fertilization. Fertilization means fusion of gametes, syngamy will occur, and by this process of fertilization, what is going to be formed? The zygote will be formed, and the zygote is diploid, and this process is syngamy, fusion of gametes. Clear? Now this zygote will have the mitosis divisions in it. So what is occurring? Mitosis. And by the normal equational divisions, it will form these embryo. This embryo is known as as sporophyte, or will develop into sporophyte. Now, from this sporophyte, what are being formed? The spore mother cells, abbreviated as SMC. Spore mother cells. I'll change the color. Spore mother cells we have over here, that is SMC. What is the full form? Full form and the abbreviations both are important, so I'm writing both. Spore mother cells. What these cells will form, the word itself tells that these are going to form these spores. So remember, these spore mother cells are actually the diploid structures. They are 2N. Embryo is 2N. Now, from this sporophyte, we are going to get these spores formed by the division known as meiosis. Means the reductional division will take place, meiosis division will take place, and such division is known as sporic meiosis, and the spores formed are known as N. Means they will be haploid. So such meiosis is what? Sporic meiosis. Remember, sporic meiosis. Clear? Now these spores will form the gametophytes in two formats. Either they will germinate directly to form the gametophyte like this. This is how they will germinate, germination. And another method or another path of germination includes that these will germinate to form a structure which is known as protonema. So they will germinate to form protonema. These protonema will develop the buds on its surface, and these buds will later on germinate to form the gametophyte. So here germination leads to formation of protonema on which the buds are formed, and those buds will later on germinate into gametophyte. Remember, this red pathway is actually represented or is seen in the case of mosses. This alternate pathway where protonema is formed is seen in mosses. In all other groups of Bryophyta, direct germination is there in the life cycle of the bryophytes. Let's classify the life cycle into two parts, and I'll classify with the help of color, which I haven't used it yet. So I'll use this color to classify the haploid and diploid stages in the life cycle, and that's how my classification goes. This is the sporophytic generation. Sporophytic generation. And this is the gametophytic generation. Gametophytic generation. Sporophytic generation means what? Diploid stage. Gametophytic means haploid stage. Now let's give the term to the life cycle. And I told you that if more than one stage is there in the diploid and in the haploid, that is the gametes, then the stage will be known as haplodiploidic. Now here the haploid stages are more. This is also haploid. This is also haploid. This is also haploid. So since the haploid stages are more as compared to diploid stages, the life cycle will be haplodiploidic. Haplodiploidic. Why we are not using only haploid life cycle? Because it has more than one diploid stage, but the number of diploid stages are less than the haploid stages, so we call it as haplodiplontic life cycle. Remember this reason of calling it a haplodiplontic life cycle, and the type of reproduction they have is oogamous type. Clear? So these are few important points for the life cycle of the bryophyta. And the next we have is development of sporophyte. So let's put the heading development of sporophyte. Some terms are there which are important actually. Development of sporophyte. So the sporophyte actually develops from a single cell, that is the zygote. So here we have got the zygote. This is what? This is zygote. This zygote will have the first division, which is a transverse division. The first division is a transverse division, and we get the two cells like this. Then the second division is a longitudinal division, and in this was the first we had. Now the longitudinal division, and we get four cells like this. Right now again one more division will be there, but this time it will be at the right angle to the first vertical. If it is in this axis, then again in the next axis we'll have the another division in the vertical plane itself, and we will get how many cells? Here we had two cells, here we have four cells, and here we'll get how many cells? From 4, if we have one more vertical division in 90-degree, so we get 8 cells. Now from these 8 cells, periclinal divisions will take place, and they will lead to the formation of 16 cells in the two tier like this. So inner 8 cells and outer 8 cells are there. Total 16 cells are there. The inner 8 cells are known as endothecium, or they will form the endothecium, whereas the outer 8 cells will form the another part, that is amphithecium. These are also 8 and form amphithecium. So from now, if you get these two terms, you will not get confused at all, right? Now, later by the development, the wall of sporophyte and the sporogenous cells are produced by these cells of the endothecium. And next we have is the importance of bryophytes. So let's put the heading importance. Importance of bryophyte. First is these bryophytes are used as food, but these are not having actually much importance to us except their ecological importance. Remember, bryophytes do not have very great importance. They are mainly having the ecological importance. These bryophytes are also used as fuel. That is, example we have sphagnum, which is also known as peat moss, or it forms peat or coal. Clear? Or peat coal is the name formed by them. Next is number 3, packing material. Packing material. These bryophyte members have great water containing capacity and hence are used for the packing material of the living organisms. Next is they have great ecological importance. Ecological importance. And as I told you, they are the pioneers in the succession of plants. So plant succession or bare rocks. On bare rocks. And specifically, if we talk about the mosses, then these are pioneers along with the lichens. Next is point number 5, and these bryophytes, because they form the mats on the land, they prevent soil erosion. Prevent soil erosion. So these are a few importance of the bryophytes. Now we have the classification of bryophyta, and these bryophyta are divided into 3 groups actually. In the NCERT they have just 2 groups given, but actually they are divided into 3 groups, and from these 3 groups only the exams will ask the questions. So we'll study all these 3 groups. First one is Hepaticopsida. Second one is Entoceratopsida. And the third one is Bryopsida, also given the name musci. So these are the 3 groups, and in NCERT you will find the first and the third group of the bryophyta. The Hepaticopsida members are also known as liverworts because of their structure, thallus structure similar to the liver. Second is Entoceratopsida. These are known as hornworts. They have so much growth that their apical parts will grow just like horns, very long. Hence, they are known as hornworts. And the third one is Bryopsida, commonly known as mosses. So these are the 3 groups which we are going to discuss in this video. Let's start with the first one, that is Hepaticopsida, and we'll write with a different color. The first one we have got is Hepaticopsida. Hepaticopsida, also known as liverworts, and their body structure or thallus structure looks like this. I'll draw now. Just like liver, they look like this. They will look, and on their surface, they have different parts. Like in the vertical region, we are seeing they have these structures present in them, that is the scales and rhizoids present in their body. So these are the rhizoids which I'm drawing just now. You can also draw in your notes because they will help you to find out the structures and remember them easily. These are the rhizoids. Rhizoids are unicellular unbranched. So I'll just label it unicellular unbranched rhizoids. Right? Next we have is the scale. So on the vertical sides, we have the scales present on this complete surface like this on the vertical side. On the lateral sides of this vertical region, we can say they have the scales present. These scales are multicellular, means made up of more than one cell. Multicellular scales. Right? So this is the complete thallus, how it looks like. This is the ventral side, which you can see where the rhizoids and the scales are present on the lateral side. The scales are on the lateral side when rhizoids are present on the vertical side, and we have the dorsal side where the reproductive structures are going to be formed. Let's talk about the plant body of these Hepaticopsida members. So first point we have is regarding plant body, and the thallus is divided into 2 parts, that is photosynthetic region and the storage region. Thallus divided into 2 regions, 2 different regions we can say. these regions, one is photosynthetic, where photosynthesis will take place, and another one is storage, where the food will be stored. Clear? Now next, if we talk about the asexual reproduction, then it takes place by fragmentation and by gamete formation. Gamete formation is an important character. So asexual reproduction by fragmentation, or to be more exact, we can say that this vegetative reproduction by fragmentation and gamete formation. These gamete are actually 8 shaped structures. They are in the shape of 8 like this, with a stalk present on them, and they are green and multicellular asexual buds formed on gamma cups. So they are multicellular structures like this, and these gamma are actually their important character. It is they are stalked with green and multicellular, means these are green and multicellular asexual buds. Clear? Now these asexual buds are formed on gamma cups. On gamma cups. These gamma cups are present on the dorsal surface of the thallus. Means upper surface, dorsal surface, upper surface when the thallus is present on the soil. I told you in the previous part that what this dorsal surface means. So here these gamma are actually the green colored structures. I'll just fill it with the green color to show you that these are the green colored structures. And remember, this forms one of the important point asked in the exams also. Next, if we talk about the sex organs, then sex organs in groups in specific structures which are known as entheridiophore and archegoniophore. The sex organs are formed in the specific structures. Sex organs in specific structures and these specific structures are given the name entheridiophore, that is the male one, and the archegoniophore. Archegoniophore, where the female reproductive structure will be there. Next point is the sporophyte is completely parasitic. Sporophyte is complete parasite. Means it will live on the gametophyte for food, for nutrition, water, and for this area to live also. Sporophyte will have the 3 parts. Means sporophyte is differentiated into food seta capsule, but the exception to this point is Rixia. In case of Rixia, their sporophytic body has only capsule. So I'll write the point here, Rixia, only capsule is there. So if I'm talking about Rixia, it means what? Rixia is a member of this group, that is Hepaticopsida. Now next is epithecium will form the wall of sporophyte. Epithecium forms wall of sporophyte, whereas the endothecium will form the sporogenous cells. Endothecium forms sporogenous cells. These sporogenous cells means they are involving spore mother cell plus nurse cells. Now, spore mother cell means the cell which is going to form the spores, and nurse cells are those supplementary cells which will help in providing the nutrition to the spore mother cell and spores. Clear? So this is how the endothecium and endothecium are used for the formation of different structures. Now comes another important point of these bryophytes, that is elaters. Elaters are these structures found on sporophyte, and they help in the dispersal of spores. So these elaters, star mark the elaters as they are asked in the exams, and their function. Now, these elaters, since they are found on the sporophytes, they are actually the diploid structures, and they are hygroscopic in nature. Now, next we have the examples of the bryophyta, which you need to remember. And the first we have been discussing continuously, Riccia. Another one we have is Markensia, whose diagram is given in your NCERT and we'll discuss here. Next is Sporella. So these are few examples of this Hepaticopsida, and now let me show you this Markensia. Okay, so this is the Markensia structure, and now we are going to see the different parts of this Markensia. If you see this topmost part, this one and this one, you can easily differentiate between these two structures, yes or not? How? In this structure, if you see, the arrangement is quite unique, means it is in an order. Whereas if you see in the first one, it is in an unarranged order, random zigzag order of the structure is there. So now, the males are random or zigzag, hence this structure is entheridiophore. This is a trick how you can remember the male Markensia. This is male Markensia and this is female Markensia. And this is the best way of knowing the male and female Markensia. The one which is completely arranged structure will have archegoniophore. Clear? These questions are asked on this plant kingdom also, and from your 12th portion also, that is reproduction in plants. So, sorry, reproduction in organisms. So, it is important that you can easily distinguish between the two. Now, the next structure we have is these structures. And these green structures which you can see, remember I drew those 8 shaped structures like this with a stalk. These are the gamma cups in which the gamma will be present. These are gamma cups. Like this, you need to learn all the diagrams given in NCERT, both 11th and 12th. It will be very easy if you learn in this form. These structures present on the ventral side we have, that is the rhizoids, which help in the absorption of water, nutrition, and to provide the encourage to the substratum to attach to the substratum. So this yellow colored part which you can see is the dorsal part, and the green colored part which you can see is this one. I'm not talking about the gamma cups, remember. The lower part which is present on the soil is the ventral surface, and this is one example from your NCERT. Do learn it. This diagram important as a number of times in the exams also. Which one is male thallus, which one is female thallus of the Markensia, which is a liverwort. Now, here we are done with the first group of the member, that is Hepaticopsida. Now we have the second one, that is the Anthocerotopsida. So let's see the second member, Anthoceratopsida. We'll first put the headings. Anthoceratopsida. Now, these are known as hornworts because of their thallus growing in the apical parts of the thallus growing at very great rate. Their plant body is quite similar with the Hepaticopsida individuals. The only difference is that their apical parts are quite long, just like the horns of the animals, right? Here, another difference is that they have rhizoids present in them. Means here, like this, they will have the rhizoids, but the scales are absent. They have rhizoids, but the scales are absent. So this is another distinguishing feature between the two members of the Bryophyta. These are what? These are the rhizoids. Scales absent. So I'll write the point here itself so that you can easily remember. Scales absent. The thallus is undifferentiated. Means just like what we saw in the hornworts, in the liverworts, here in the hornworts, the thallus is not differentiated into two regions, photosynthetic and storage regions. Thallus undifferentiated. Next character is that they have specific feature of the thallus, that they have one chloroplast and one pyrenoid in each cell. So let's write the next point, one chloroplast and one pyrenoid in each cell. Clear? Next, the sporophyte is divided into foot and capsule. Seta is not there. It is replaced by a meristematic zone, which actually leads to the rapid growth, just like the horns. So let's write this point. Sporophyte is differentiated into foot and capsule. What is Seta doing? Seta replaced by, it is replaced by meristematic zone, the continuously dividing zone, because of which the horn-like structures are there. Next, the sporophyte is semi-parasitic. Semi-parasitic sporophyte. Semi-parasitic sporophyte. It means what? The sporophyte does not depend completely on the gametophyte. Here, the sporophyte is photosynthetic. Means it will just depend on gametophyte to live on it, to get water from it, but it will prepare its own food. This is one important point. I'm star marking it, double star. Next is epithecium will form the wall of sporophyte and spores. Epithecium forms wall of sporophyte plus spores from spore mother cell, whereas in endothecium, this is used to form the pseudo-elaters. These pseudo-elaters are used for spore dispersal. They have function similar to elaters. Star mark this point, another important point for the Anthoceratopsida. These structures are similar to elaters, which are used for the dispersal of spore. Next we have is examples of these Anthoceratopsida. So two examples are there which you need to keep in mind. One is Notothylus and another one very easy, just with the name of Anthoceratopsida, it is Anthoceros. So these are the two members which you need to remember of the Anthoceratopsida. Next, we have the third group, that is Bryopsida. These Bryopsida are also known as mosses. Mosses, they have one characteristic feature. So I'll first write the heading, mosses, and I'll begin with their characteristic feature, and that is these are the only individuals which have leaf on gametophyte. Leaf on gametophyte. Mosses are the only members who have leaf on gametophyte. Their plant body is differentiated into stem, leaves and rhizoids. Means the gametophytic body is differentiated into what parts? Stem, leaves and rhizoids. Roots are not there. Next, these rhizoids are multicellular branch with oblique septa. So the character of rhizoids is important. Rhizoids are what? Rhizoids are multicellular and branched structures with oblique septa. Clear? Now, next, these sporophytes are highly developed and they are partially parasitic. So, highly developed sporophyte. Sporophyte, which is partially parasitic. Partially parasitic means it will perform photosynthesis, and for dispersal of spores, they have peristomial teeth. Peristomial teeth for dispersal of spores. Star mark this point because questions are asked from this point also. So peristomial teeth function is important and which member it is found, that point is important. Next, if we talk about the amphithecium, then it forms wall of sporophyte. Amphithecium forms wall of sporophyte. Whereas if we talk about the endothecium, then they form the spores from the spore mother cell. Now, next we have some examples of mosses which are again very important and their common names also. One is Funaria. Funaria is known as rope moss or cord moss. Next is Polytrichum. Polytrichum, also known as hair cap moss. Next is Buxbaumia. It is a saprophytic one, as I told you already, saprophyte. And the last one is Sphagnum. Sphagnum is also known as peat or bog moss or turf moss. So now these are the mosses, and now comes my question: are all mosses included under bryophytes? I'll write this question: are all mosses bryophytes? Yes or no? No. There are some mosses which are not the bryophytes. For example, Riander moss we saw another moss, that is Irish moss. We'll see the mosses in the Pteridophyta also. One of the example is club moss. So those are not the members of Bryophyta, but they are given the word moss. So the mosses which are included in this group of the Bryophyta, these are the true mosses. If the question asks which one is true moss, The members belonging to Bryophyta are true moss. Rest all the mosses which are either the algae or the pteridophytes, the lichens, they are not true moss. So this is one important point as in the exams also. And now we are done with this topic of the Bryophyta, and we have some common questions which are asked in the exams also. So let's see those questions. Do learn these common names of the mosses as questions are asked from these points. And now let's see the questions. Question number 1 is largest bryophyte is. Largest bryophyte is means you can imagine bryophytes are very small. The largest size will be what? Largest bryophyte is A. Funaria. B is Markentia. C is Megaceros. And D is Downsonia. Hold on, I have some more diagrams to show you after this questions. Question number 2, which is the last stage of gametophytic generation. Last stage of gametophytic generation. And the options A, gametes. Very simple question, right? Gametes. B is zygote. C is spore mother cell, SMC, and D is spores. Then we have the next question. Question number 3. Evidence of aquatic origin of bryophytes is. Evidence of aquatic origin of bryophytes. Option A, motile sperms. Option B, green color of the bryophytes. Option C is Protonema thread. And option D is some are still aquatic. Some are still aquatic. So let's mark the answers. I hope you all have marked the correct answers. Largest bryophyte is Downsonia. Last stage of gametophytic generation is gametes, where the gametes will lead to the formation of zygote, which is a diploid structure. And evidence of aquatic origin of bryophytes is motile sperms, which will swim in the water and will reach to the female reproductive part to fertilize the female gametes. And now we have the last part, that is the diagrams of the NCERT we have. So let's clear the screen first, just a minute. Okay, so now we have this labeling of the, which are the diagrams given in the NCERT also. The first one which you can see is the diagram of Funaria, which has both gametophytic and sporophytic parts on it. So this is gametophyte and this is sporophyte, and this is what? This is Funaria. I'm telling you what are the things you need to learn for the exams. In this Funaria, the lower part is gametophyte and the upper part is sporophyte. Now, in this gametophyte, they have rhizoids, these root-like structures, but not the roots. Then they have the main axis, and then they have these leaf-like structures, or leaves actually. The only members who have the gametophyte with leaves. Then the sporophyte has seta and capsule. Next point regarding these structures is that the another diagram which is of sphagnum. In this sphagnum, you can see this archegonial branch and these other branches, antheridial branches present over here. So this is sphagnum, this is sphenaria. These are the diagrammatic questions which you need to remember. So now we are done with this complete topic of the bryophyta. Please like this video, share with your friends, and subscribe the channel if you haven't done it yet.